Mail order bride left bleeding on the road. The cowboy who saved her changed everything. The wheels creaked as they rolled over the dusty road, sending small clouds of dirt into the dry air. She had never been this far from home before, and the loneliness of the journey pressed on her chest like a heavy stone. Her hometown had been small and familiar, with narrow streets and friendly faces, but here, everything felt vast, empty, and unknown. The horizon stretched endlessly, a mix of soft, golden fields and distant hills, and she realized that nothing about this journey was like she had imagined. From the moment she had agreed to become a mail-order bride, Anna had known her life was about to change, but she hadn't understood just how frightening that change would feel. Her decision was not made lightly. Her family had struggled for years, facing poverty and hard days that never seemed to end. Her mother had always told her that the world was bigger than their little town, and that one day Anna would need to find her own path. But now, sitting in that rattling carriage, the weight of that reality hit her all at once. She was leaving behind the safety of home, the comforting presence of her mother, and the laughter of her younger siblings. She was leaving behind everything she knew. The journey was long and tiring. The sun beat down on her, warm at first, but as the hours passed, it grew relentless, turning the road into a shimmering path of heat and dust. Anna could feel her energy draining with every mile, yet she forced herself to stay alert. She had been warned that the roads were not always safe, and the thought of danger made her heart race. Every sound, the distant bark of a dog, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the creak of the carriage wheels, made her jump. Her mind spun with a mix of fear and excitement, wondering what awaited her at the end of the road. Anna looked out at the passing landscape, trying to distract herself from her anxiety. Fields stretched as far as she could see, dotted with wildflowers that swayed gently in the breeze. Birds soared above, their wings cutting through the bright blue sky. In the distance, she could see a small farmhouse, its white walls shining in the sunlight. It seemed like a world away from the crowded streets of her hometown. The beauty of the scenery made her heart ache with both hope and sadness. Hope for a new life, sadness for the one she was leaving behind. Her thoughts wandered to the man she was traveling to meet. She had corresponded with him for months, writing letters back and forth, each filled with careful words and polite questions. In his letters, he had promised a life of stability and kindness, a place where she could belong and start anew. She tried to imagine him now, standing somewhere along this vast land, waiting for her arrival. Would he be as kind as his words suggested? Would he understand the fear and uncertainty she carried in her heart? The questions swirled in her mind, but the answers were still far away, hidden behind the miles of road that separated them. Anna's stomach twisted with nerves as the sun began to sink lower in the sky. Shadows stretched long across the fields, and the air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of earth and grass. She pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders, wishing for the comfort of someone beside her. The carriage jolted over a small bump, and she tightened her grip on her bag, her heart beating fast. For the first time, she felt a pang of doubt. Had she been foolish to take such a risk? The thought made her eyes sting, and she blinked rapidly to hold back tears. As evening approached, the sky turned shades of pink and orange, painting the landscape with colors that seemed almost magical. Anna took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing thoughts. She reminded herself of why she had made this journey in the first place. She wanted a better life, a chance to escape the struggles of her past. She wanted to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel like she belonged somewhere. That hope, fragile as it was, gave her strength to keep going. She whispered to herself, "I can do this. I must." The road grew quieter as night fell. The sounds of the countryside, the chirping of crickets, the distant howl of a coyote, filled the air. Anna's eyes grew heavy, but she resisted the urge to sleep. She needed to stay alert, to be aware of every sound and movement. Her imagination ran wild, picturing shadowy figures emerging from the darkness. She shivered, wrapping her shawl tighter, but also reminded herself that fear was part of this journey. She had to face it if she wanted to reach her destination safely. Hours passed slowly. The moon rose high in the sky, casting a silver glow on the road. Anna felt both exhausted and exhilarated. She was traveling alone, yet every mile brought her closer to a new life. She thought about what awaited her, imagining a small house with a garden, the smell of bread baking in the oven, and the warmth of a hearth. She imagined laughter, companionship, and the quiet satisfaction of building something of her own. These thoughts filled her with a fragile but growing sense of hope. But even as hope bloomed in her heart, fear lingered at the edges. The road was long and lonely, and she knew that danger could appear at any moment. She tightened her grip on her bag once more, her knuckles white, and whispered a small prayer for safety. She promised herself that she would stay strong, that she would keep moving forward no matter what. The journey was hers alone, and she had to see it through. As the night deepened, Anna's mind wandered to her family. She thought of her mother, who had kissed her forehead that morning and whispered words of encouragement. She thought of her siblings, who had waved her off with smiles and tears. She thought of the friends she had left behind, and the life that had been familiar and comforting. Leaving them had been painful, but she knew that staying behind would mean a life of regrets and missed opportunities. She had chosen this path, and she had to honor that choice. By the time the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Anna felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The road stretched endlessly before her, but she no longer felt quite so alone. She had faced the night, confronted her fears, and held onto her hope. She reminded herself that each step brought her closer to the life she dreamed of, and that strength came from facing the unknown. She took a deep breath of the crisp morning air, feeling it fill her lungs with new energy. As the sun rose higher, Anna's thoughts turned once again to the man she was traveling to meet. She imagined the conversation they would have, the first handshake, the cautious smiles, and the stories they would share. She reminded herself to be patient and open, to allow life to unfold in its own time. The journey had already taught her something important. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. And so, Anna continued down the dusty road, her eyes focused on the horizon, her heart filled with both hope and determination. The journey was far from over, and the challenges she would face were still unknown. But for the first time, she felt a quiet strength within herself, a belief that she could face whatever came next. She whispered softly to the wind, "I am ready." Little did she know that the road ahead would test her in ways she had never imagined, and that a stranger, a cowboy traveling nearby, would soon appear to change the course of her life forever. But for now, she rode on, holding onto hope, courage, and the fragile dream of a new beginning. The morning sun had barely climbed above the horizon when Anna noticed a change in the road ahead. The path that had seemed calm and open the day before now appeared rougher, filled with uneven patches and loose stones. The soft light of dawn painted the landscape in shades of gold and pink, but there was an uneasy stillness in the air. The wind seemed quieter, almost holding its breath, and Anna felt a shiver run down her spine. She tightened her shawl around her shoulders and clutched her bag a little closer. Something in her instincts whispered caution, though she could not say why. For hours, the carriage continued over the rugged terrain. Anna tried to calm her nerves by thinking about the letters she had exchanged with the man she was traveling to meet. Each word he had written was carefully measured, kind, and polite. He had promised a safe home, a steady life, and the companionship she longed for. Yet, as the miles stretched on and the road grew lonelier, Anna could not shake a growing sense of vulnerability. She realized just how exposed she was in this wide, unfamiliar land. There were no towns nearby, no passing travelers, nothing but the wind and the occasional rustle of animals in the distance. Suddenly, a shadow flickered across the road in front of her carriage. Anna's heart leaped into her throat and she gasped, gripping the edges of her seat tightly. She blinked, trying to focus, but the figure appeared again, closer this time. Panic surged through her. She wished she had someone with her, a companion to share her fears or to protect her. The letters she had read so carefully could not have prepared her for the sudden terror that now gripped her. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to remain still, but her mind raced with all the possible dangers the road could hide. The figure approached faster, and Anna's eyes widened in shock. It was not a traveler, but a man she had not expected. His expression was harsh and cold, and he moved toward her carriage with a determined, threatening gait. Fear wrapped itself around Anna like a heavy cloak. She tried to speak, to ask him to leave, but her voice faltered and died in her throat. The sudden reality of her situation made her feel small and powerless. Her mind raced, thinking of her family, her dreams, and the new life she had hoped to find. She had not imagined that danger would strike so early, so suddenly, on a road she had believed to be safe. The man lunged at the carriage, and in the chaos, Anna felt herself being knocked from her seat. Pain shot through her arm and leg as she hit the ground, and she cried out, her voice carrying across the empty fields. Her shawl was torn, and she could feel blood seeping from a cut on her arm. The warm sensation mixed with fear, making her dizzy. The road that had seemed so full of possibility now felt cruel and threatening. She wanted to scream, to call for help, but there was no one around to hear her. Only the wind and the whisper of the grass accompanied her. Anna struggled to sit up, but her strength wavered. She tried to stand, but her legs trembled beneath her, weak and unsteady. Tears blurred her vision as she realized just how alone she was. Her mind, which had been full of hope just hours ago, now wrestled with despair. She thought of her family and wished she could see them, if only for a moment, to reassure them that she was safe. Yet she also knew that panic would not help her. She had to find a way to survive, to protect herself, and to hold onto the tiny spark of hope that had carried her this far. The man had disappeared as suddenly as he had appeared, leaving Anna on the cold, rough ground. She did not know where he had gone or if he might return. Her body ached, her wounds stung, and the bright morning sun felt too harsh on her skin. She wrapped her torn shawl around herself and pressed her hand to her arm, feeling the warmth of the blood she could not stop. Fear and confusion overwhelmed her, but beneath it all, a small voice in her heart urged her to keep going. She whispered to herself, "I have to survive. I can't give up now." Minutes turned into what felt like hours as Anna tried to gather her strength. She knew she could not stay on the road much longer, vulnerable and exposed. The world around her seemed vast and endless, and every sound, the creak of a distant branch, the rustle of leaves, made her flinch. She tried to stand again, leaning on the side of the carriage for support, and finally managed to pull herself upright. Her legs were shaky, and the pain made her wince, but she refused to sit back down. Each step she took along the dusty path was a small victory, a demonstration of her will to survive. Anna's thoughts drifted to the man she had been traveling to meet. She wondered what he would think if he knew she had been attacked, left alone on the road and wounded. Would he understand the danger she had faced? Would he still welcome her with kindness, as he had promised in his letters? She could not answer these questions, but they pressed on her mind, mingling with fear and hope. She realized that this journey, which had once seemed so certain and filled with promise, was now full of uncertainty and challenges she had never anticipated. As the hours passed, Anna felt the first signs of fatigue settle into her bones. Her arms ached from trying to keep herself steady, and her legs were stiff and sore from the struggle to remain upright. She found a small patch of grass near the side of the road and lowered herself to sit, pressing her hand to the wound on her arm. The blood had begun to dry, leaving a warm, sticky residue. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the rapid beating of her heart. The road ahead seemed long and unforgiving, but she knew she could not give up. Survival depended on her courage and determination, and she had to summon every ounce of strength she possessed. The sun climbed higher, casting bright rays across the open fields. Anna's body was exhausted, but her mind refused to surrender to despair. She reminded herself of the letters she had received, the promises of a safe life and new beginnings. She thought of her dreams of a home filled with warmth and laughter, a place where she could feel secure and loved. These thoughts were fragile, but they were enough to keep her moving, step by step, along the lonely road. Hours passed slowly, and Anna began to fear that no one would come to help her. She felt the weight of isolation pressing down, the enormity of the world around her making her feel small and insignificant. Yet even in this moment of fear, a spark of hope flickered in her heart. She refused to let the darkness overwhelm her. She reminded herself that she had traveled this far, that she had faced hardships before, and that she was capable of surviving even the most frightening situations. Suddenly, a sound reached her ears, a faint, steady sound of hooves on the dirt road. Anna froze, her heart leaping with both fear and relief. She could not yet see who was approaching, but the sound was unmistakable. Someone was coming. She felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. Could it be a passerby? Could it be someone who might harm her again? Her body trembled, but she forced herself to remain calm. As the sound grew louder, a figure appeared in the distance, a man riding a sturdy horse, moving confidently along the dusty road. Anna could see that he wore a wide-brimmed hat and a simple shirt, his posture relaxed yet strong. Relief surged through her, mingling with exhaustion. She could not yet speak, but she raised her hand slightly, hoping to catch his attention. The man slowed as he approached, noticing the young woman sitting alone on the side of the road, her clothes torn and bloodied. His eyes widened in concern as he reined in his horse. Anna felt a mixture of fear and cautious hope. She did not know this man, but his presence offered a lifeline, a chance that she might finally be safe. She whispered a small, shaky prayer of thanks, her body trembling with both pain and relief. The road that had felt cruel and merciless only moments before now held the possibility of salvation, and she clung to that possibility with all her heart. The sound of hooves grew louder, echoing across the quiet, empty fields. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she watched a figure approach along the dusty road. She could see him more clearly now, a man riding a strong, calm horse, his wide-brimmed hat shading his face. The sunlight reflected off the horse's coat, making it gleam in the morning light. Relief and fear mingled inside her. She did not know this man, yet the sight of another human being stirred something deep inside her. The hope that she might finally be rescued from the danger and loneliness that had threatened her so mercilessly. The cowboy slowed as he neared her, gently urging his horse to a stop a few feet away. He leaned forward slightly, his eyes scanning Anna from head to toe. He noticed her torn clothes, the bloodstain on her arm, and the way she trembled as she tried to sit upright. His expression softened, a mixture of concern and determination crossing his features. Without a word, he dismounted, letting the reins fall loosely over his arm. His movements were calm and careful, as if he had learned that patience and gentleness were as important as strength. Anna tried to speak, to explain what had happened, but her voice was weak and barely audible. The cowboy knelt down beside her, his eyes kind and reassuring. "It's okay," he said in a steady voice. "You're safe now. I'm here to help you." His words were simple, but they carried a warmth and certainty that Anna had not felt since she had been attacked. She felt a small wave of relief wash over her, mixed with exhaustion and disbelief. Someone was here, someone she could trust, or at least someone who meant her no harm. Carefully, the cowboy examined Anna's arm where the cut had left a dark stain. He spoke gently, asking her if she was hurt anywhere else. Anna shook her head weakly, though she knew her body ached in multiple places. The cowboy worked methodically, retrieving a clean cloth from his saddlebag and using it to clean the wound. His hands were steady, skilled, and patient, and Anna felt a strange comfort in his calm presence. She realized that, for the first time in hours, she could breathe without fear pressing down on her chest. The cowboy offered her water from a small leather flask. Anna took it with trembling hands, grateful for the simple kindness. The cool liquid soothed her parched throat, and she felt a spark of strength return to her body. She tried to speak again, thanking him, but the words came out in a low, shaky whisper. He smiled gently, shaking his head. "No need to thank me," he said. "You're safe. That's what matters." His tone was firm but not harsh, giving Anna a sense of security she had not felt since leaving her hometown. As Anna sat on the edge of the road, leaning against a tree for support, the cowboy began to speak in quiet, measured sentences. He introduced himself as Jake, a man who had grown up in these parts, familiar with the roads, the fields, and the dangers that could appear unexpectedly. He explained that he had been traveling nearby when he heard her cries. His voice was calm, and each word seemed to reassure Anna that she was no longer alone. Slowly, she felt her fear begin to ebb, replaced by a fragile sense of trust. Jake carefully helped Anna to her feet. Her legs wobbled, but his steady hands supported her. "We'll take it slow," he said. "You don't need to rush." He guided her toward his horse, offering her a seat in front of him. She hesitated, unsure if she could manage, but with his encouragement, she climbed up, gripping him gently for support. As they began moving down the road together, Anna felt a mix of vulnerability and relief. The danger that had seemed so immediate was now behind her, replaced by the presence of someone who cared and was capable of helping her. The ride was slow and careful. Jake kept a watchful eye on the road ahead, alert to any signs of trouble, while also speaking softly to Anna to keep her calm. He asked her simple questions about her journey, where she had come from and what had happened. Anna answered as best as she could, her voice still weak but gradually gaining strength. Each word she spoke, each story she shared, seemed to ease the tension in her chest. She realized that talking about her experiences, even briefly, made the fear and pain feel more manageable. As they traveled, Anna observed Jake more closely. His hands were strong and calloused, evidence of years spent working hard in the fields and with horses. His eyes, however, were gentle and kind, revealing a patience and understanding that seemed rare in the harshness of the world she had just encountered. She felt a growing sense of gratitude and admiration for this man who had appeared at the right moment, offering her safety and comfort when she had needed it most. The morning passed slowly, the sun climbing higher and casting bright light across the open fields. Anna felt the warmth of the sun on her face, the gentle sway of the horse beneath her, and the steady presence of Jake beside her. Though she was still in pain, both physically and emotionally, she realized that she was no longer alone. The sense of isolation that had pressed so heavily upon her just hours earlier had been replaced by a fragile but growing feeling of safety. She clung to that feeling, letting it bolster her spirits as they continued down the lonely road. At one point, they stopped near a small stream. Jake dismounted, helping Anna down from the horse. He guided her to the edge of the water where she could wash her face and rinse the dried blood from her arm. The cool water was soothing, and Anna felt a rush of relief as she splashed her face, feeling more human and alive. Jake watched her carefully, offering quiet encouragement, and Anna felt a deep sense of appreciation for his presence. She realized that this act of kindness, this simple attention to her well-being, meant more to her than she could put into words. As she cleaned herself, Anna began to feel a connection with Jake, a sense of trust that went beyond mere gratitude. She shared small details about her life, her family, her hometown, the letters she had exchanged, and her hopes for the future. Jake listened intently, never interrupting, offering gentle words of understanding when she paused or struggled to continue. This simple act of listening, of paying attention to her story, gave Anna a renewed sense of worth and dignity. She realized that kindness, patience, and understanding could feel as powerful as any physical protection. Once she had regained some strength, they continued their journey. Jake guided the horse carefully, speaking softly to Anna along the way. He told her about the land around them, the fields, the wildlife, and the quiet beauty of the countryside. His words painted a picture of a world that was not entirely harsh and dangerous, a world where beauty and kindness could still exist. Anna listened, feeling a mix of awe and comfort. The vast landscape no longer seemed intimidating. It felt alive and full of possibilities, a place where she could begin to heal and find hope again. By the time the sun was high in the sky, Anna felt a significant shift within herself. The fear that had dominated her thoughts since the attack was no longer as powerful. She still ached, her wounds still burned, but the presence of Jake, his calm demeanor and his gentle guidance had created a sense of safety she had not known she could feel. She realized that survival was not only about escaping danger, but also about finding someone who could offer support, understanding, and protection. As they moved forward, Anna's thoughts returned to the man she had been traveling to meet. She knew that her journey had taken an unexpected turn, that danger had appeared when she least expected it. Yet, she also realized that life could bring unexpected allies, people who appeared in moments of need to change everything. Jake had become that person for her. The knowledge that someone cared, that someone was willing to help her without expecting anything in return, filled her heart with a cautious but growing hope. The road stretched ahead, long and winding, but Anna no longer felt completely alone. She rode with a sense of purpose, clinging to the small victories of survival, the simple acts of kindness, and the growing bond with Jake. She understood that her journey was far from over, that challenges still awaited her, but for the first time in hours, she believed that she could face them. She whispered quietly to herself, "I will be okay. I can do this." And as the horse carried them forward, through the open fields and under the bright sun, Anna began to feel the first glimmers of trust, safety, and a connection that would change the course of her journey forever. She had been wounded, scared, and alone, but with Jake by her side, she realized that even the darkest road could lead to hope, healing, and new beginnings. After the morning ride, Anna felt a small but important shift in herself. The immediate fear of being alone on the road had faded, replaced by the quiet comfort of having someone nearby who cared for her well-being. She still ached, and the wound on her arm throbbed slightly with every movement, but the presence of Jake, the cowboy who had rescued her, gave her strength she hadn't known she possessed. She realized that she could breathe without constant panic, that she could think clearly again, and that, for the first time in many hours, she could allow herself to feel hope. Jake guided her to a small, shaded clearing beside a gentle stream. The water sparkled under the sun, and the soft rustle of the trees made the place feel like a sanctuary hidden in the wide-open land. Anna sat on a fallen log, careful not to disturb her wound. Jake knelt beside her again, inspecting the arm carefully. "It's not too deep," he said with a calm certainty, "but it needs to stay clean. We'll have to tend to it until it heals." He worked slowly, using water from the stream and a clean cloth he had in his saddlebag. Every movement was gentle, and Anna felt a sense of safety she had never expected to experience with a stranger. As Jake tended to her wound, Anna realized how exhausted she truly was. Her journey had been long, physically draining, and emotionally overwhelming. Her body trembled slightly as she leaned back against the log, trying to relax. The gentle murmur of the stream and the calm presence of Jake beside her helped her start to let go of some of the tension she had been carrying for so long. She realized that this was not just physical healing, it was also emotional. For hours, she had been consumed by fear and uncertainty, But now, with someone to help her, she could begin to process everything that had happened. She began talking in small bursts, sharing fragments of her story with Jake. She spoke of her hometown, the letters she had exchanged, and her dreams of a safe, happy life. Jake listened quietly, never interrupting, his eyes soft and patient. Occasionally, he would nod or offer a word of understanding. "It's hard to leave home," he said gently. "It takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing." Anna felt a warmth in her chest, realizing that he understood more than she had expected. For the first time, she felt that someone truly heard her, not just her words, but the fears, hopes, and emotions behind them. They spent the morning this way, sitting by the stream, sharing stories and listening to the gentle sounds of nature. Jake told Anna about his own life, growing up on a ranch, learning to care for horses and livestock, and facing the difficulties of life in the open countryside. He spoke about his family, his work, and the lessons he had learned about patience, perseverance, and the importance of helping others when they were in need. Anna listened with fascination, realizing that he had faced his own struggles, yet he carried himself with kindness and calm strength. By midday, Anna felt a little stronger. Her arm still hurt, but the bleeding had stopped, and the wound had been cleaned and bandaged carefully. Jake offered her some water and simple food he had brought with him, a piece of bread and some dried fruit. Anna accepted it gratefully, her hands shaking slightly as she ate. The act of nourishing herself felt symbolic in a way, as if she were beginning to reclaim control over her own body and her life. The simple meal also gave her energy to continue the journey, even though she still had far to go. As they rested, Anna began to notice more about Jake. His presence was calming in a way she hadn't expected. He did not rush her, he did not demand anything, and he never seemed impatient. Every action he took, from tending to her wound to guiding the horse carefully down the road, communicated respect and care. Anna realized that trust was not built in grand gestures alone, but in small, consistent acts of consideration. This realization gave her a sense of security she had not felt in a long time. The conversation turned to dreams and hopes. Anna spoke of the life she had imagined for herself, the home she longed to create, and the possibility of love and companionship in her future. Jake listened intently, occasionally sharing his own thoughts. "Life doesn't always go the way we plan," he said softly, "but sometimes it surprises us in ways we couldn't imagine. You never know what might happen if you stay open to it." Anna found herself nodding, feeling that his words resonated with her in ways that were comforting and inspiring. She realized that hope could still exist even after fear, and that trust could be rebuilt even after danger. They stayed by the stream for several hours, letting the sun warm them, sharing stories and enjoying the peaceful surroundings. For Anna, this was more than just a physical recovery. It was a moment of emotional healing. The terror she had experienced on the road was still a part of her, but it was no longer overwhelming. She felt a small but growing sense of courage, realizing that she could continue her journey and face whatever lay ahead, especially with Jake by her side. As the afternoon approached, Jake helped Anna back onto the horse. The ride continued slowly, with him guiding the horse carefully along the road. He asked gentle questions about what she hoped to find at the end of her journey and listened with genuine interest as she spoke. Anna began to feel a connection forming, a bond built on trust, kindness, and shared experiences. She realized that this bond was more meaningful than she had expected, and that it gave her strength in ways she could not fully describe. Along the way, Anna began to notice small details about the landscape she had missed before, the way the sunlight danced on the leaves, the songs of birds echoing across the fields, the gentle sway of the grass in the breeze. These details, which she might have overlooked when consumed by fear, now felt alive and beautiful. She realized that being present, even in difficult circumstances, could bring moments of peace and clarity. Jake's calm presence made it easier for her to see these details and appreciate them. As evening approached, they found a small clearing suitable for resting. Jake helped Anna down from the horse and assisted her in setting up a safe spot to rest for the night. She was tired but no longer overwhelmed by fear. The day's experiences, survival, kindness, conversation, and the first glimmers of trust, had left her feeling a mix of exhaustion and quiet contentment. She realized that the journey was not only about reaching a destination, but also about discovering her own strength and resilience along the way. That night, sitting near a small fire, Anna and Jake continued to talk. Their conversation was easy and natural, moving from stories of the past to hopes for the future. Anna shared her dreams of a home filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Jake spoke of his experiences with community, friendship, and the value of helping others. Each word exchanged strengthened the growing bond between them. Anna felt a sense of belonging and understanding that she had not anticipated, realizing that trust and care could flourish even after moments of fear and danger. By the time the fire burned low, Anna felt a sense of peace she had not known in many days. The wounds on her body were tended to, her hunger was satisfied, and the presence of someone she could trust gave her a sense of safety. She realized that this day had been transformative, not only because she had survived danger, but because she had experienced the power of kindness and the beginnings of trust. She understood that the connection she had formed with Jake could change her journey and perhaps her life in ways she had never imagined. As she lay down to rest that night, Anna reflected on the events of the day. Fear had been present, but so had courage. Pain had been real, but so had comfort. Loneliness had threatened her, but companionship had arrived when she least expected it. She realized that life could be unpredictable, sometimes frightening, but also full of unexpected kindness and hope. With Jake by her side, she felt ready to continue her journey, knowing that the road ahead would be easier to face with someone she could trust. And so, as the stars appeared in the night sky, Anna allowed herself to rest, holding onto the fragile but growing bond with the cowboy who had rescued her. She understood that the journey was far from over, but for the first time since leaving home, she felt that she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The experience had shown her that courage, trust, and kindness could exist even in the darkest moments, and that life could bring unexpected allies when they were needed most. The morning sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting soft golden light across the fields. Anna awoke feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and hope. She had spent the night under the quiet sky, near the small fire that Jake had helped her set, and for the first time in days, she felt something she had almost forgotten: peace. Her wounds were still tender, but they had stopped hurting as sharply, and she could move with a little more ease. As she stretched and took in the fresh morning air, she felt a small but growing sense of strength. She knew the journey ahead would still be challenging, but she was no longer afraid. Jake was already awake, tending to the horse and preparing a small breakfast of bread and fresh water. He greeted Anna with a gentle smile, and she felt warmth rise in her chest. The quiet support he had given her since the attack had become something she depended on, not out of weakness but out of trust. She realized that the connection they had formed was real, built on kindness, patience, and shared hardship. For the first time, she allowed herself to consider that the unexpected detour her journey had taken, the attack, the fear, and then the rescue, might be leading her toward something better than she had imagined. They began traveling again once Anna felt ready. The road was long and dusty, but her heart felt lighter. Each step of the horse, each gentle word from Jake, reminded her that she was no longer alone. As they moved through the open fields, Anna began to notice the small details she had missed before: the golden rays of sunlight reflecting off the tall grass, the distant birds calling to one another, and the rhythm of the horse's hooves blending with the soft breeze. The world, which had seemed harsh and empty just days ago, now felt alive and full of possibility. Anna reflected on the events that had brought her here. She had started the journey full of fear and uncertainty, hoping for a new life but unsure if it could ever be real. The attack on the road had shaken her to the core, leaving her scared, wounded, and alone. Yet, that same moment had led to her meeting Jake, a man whose kindness, patience, and calm presence had begun to heal both her body and her spirit. She realized that life could take unexpected turns, and sometimes the detours, however frightening, could lead to something far more meaningful than she had anticipated. As the day passed, their conversations deepened. Anna spoke more freely about her hopes, her dreams, and the life she imagined for herself. She shared her desire for a home filled with warmth and laughter, a place where she could feel safe and valued. Jake listened, offering gentle words of encouragement and sharing stories of his own life on the ranch, the lessons he had learned, the people who had helped him along the way, and the quiet moments of joy he had experienced despite hardships. The more they spoke, the more Anna realized that he understood her in a way that few people ever had. The connection between them grew stronger with every mile they traveled together. Jake's support was unwavering, not just in practical matters, like tending to her wounds or guiding the horse, but also emotionally. He encouraged her to be brave, to trust in her own strength, and to believe that good things could still happen even after terrifying experiences. Anna began to feel a sense of empowerment she had never known. She understood that her journey was no longer just about reaching a destination. It was about discovering the resilience, courage, and hope that had always been within her. By the afternoon, they reached a small town at the edge of the countryside. Anna could see simple wooden houses, a few shops, and children playing along the dusty streets. The sight of human activity, so different from the lonely road they had traveled, gave her a strange sense of excitement and anticipation. Jake helped her down from the horse, supporting her as they walked toward a safe place where she could rest and recover further. Anna felt a mix of gratitude and relief. The journey had been long and difficult, but she had survived, and she had grown stronger in ways she had never expected. Over the next few days, Anna stayed in the town, taking time to rest, eat, and recover fully. Jake remained by her side, ensuring that she had everything she needed. They continued to talk, sharing small moments of laughter, quiet reflection, and gentle encouragement. Anna began to notice how much she relied on his steady presence, not out of dependence, but because it made her feel safe and supported. In his company, she could think clearly, dream freely, and imagine a future that was no longer clouded by fear. As Anna's strength returned, she and Jake spent more time walking together through the countryside. The fields, once threatening and empty, now felt welcoming and full of life. They observed the patterns of nature, the way animals moved, and the quiet rhythm of rural life. These simple experiences, shared with someone who cared for her well-being, became moments of joy and connection. Anna realized that her perspective on life had shifted. She had learned to appreciate not only the beauty of the world around her, but also the importance of trust, kindness, and genuine human connection. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the fields, Anna and Jake sat together on a small hill overlooking the countryside. The sky was painted with shades of pink, orange, and purple, reflecting on the calm expression of the land below. They spoke quietly, sharing thoughts about the past and hopes for the future. Anna felt a deep sense of gratitude and warmth. She understood that her journey, which had begun with fear and uncertainty, had led her to a place of safety, hope, and connection she had never imagined possible. Anna's thoughts turned to the man she had originally been traveling to meet, the one she had written letters to for months. She realized that while her original plans had been disrupted, life had provided something far richer. She had faced danger and survived, found an unexpected ally in Jake, and discovered a bond built on trust, kindness, and shared experience. She understood that life did not always go according to plan, but sometimes the detours led to outcomes far more meaningful than one could ever imagine. Over the next several weeks, Anna and Jake worked together to create a sense of stability and comfort. They found a small place to stay, helped each other with daily chores, and continued to explore the countryside around them. Anna began to feel a sense of belonging that had been missing for so long. The bond between them deepened, based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared experiences. She realized that life could be unpredictable and even frightening, but it could also offer moments of beauty, trust, and companionship that made every challenge worthwhile. Anna reflected often on the events that had brought her here. She remembered the fear and pain she had felt on the road, the uncertainty about her future, and the desperation she had experienced when left alone. Yet she also remembered the kindness, courage, and calm presence of Jake, who had transformed those moments of terror into moments of safety, trust, and hope. She understood that the people who appeared in one's life, even unexpectedly, could change everything, sometimes in ways one could never predict. By the time summer approached, Anna felt completely transformed. The journey that had begun with uncertainty, fear, and danger had led her to a place of strength, safety, and connection. She had grown emotionally and physically, learning to trust not only others but also herself. The experiences she had faced, difficult as they had been, had revealed resilience, courage, and the capacity for hope that she had not fully known existed. Anna now looked toward the future with a sense of excitement, anticipation, and confidence. Jake had become more than a rescuer or companion. He had become a trusted friend and a source of strength. Their bond, formed in moments of fear and nurtured through patience and kindness, had transformed both of their lives. Anna realized that the journey had not only been about survival, but also about discovering the power of human connection, the importance of empathy, and the beauty of shared hope. On a quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with brilliant colors, Anna felt a profound sense of gratitude. She had survived, she had healed, and she had found a connection that offered comfort, trust, and the promise of something beautiful. She understood that life's challenges could be overwhelming, but they also provided opportunities for growth, courage, and unexpected blessings. She whispered softly to herself, "I am ready for what comes next." And so, Anna's journey reached its conclusion, not the one she had originally planned, but a richer, deeper, and more meaningful path. She had faced fear, endured hardship, and discovered the power of kindness and trust. Her life had been forever changed by the unexpected events on the road, by the presence of someone who had cared, and by the courage she had found within herself. In the wide-open fields, under the endless sky, Anna realized that hope, resilience, and human connection could transform even the darkest moments into a life filled with promise, love, and new beginnings.